Across America, a striking paradox has emerged within religious communities. While many congregants face economic hardship, a growing number of pastors enjoy lifestyles of extraordinary affluence. This disparity raises a fundamental question. Why do some spiritual leaders accumulate vast personal fortunes? Historically, pastoral compensation was often modest, reflecting a calling of service and sacrifice. Ministers typically earned enough to support their families, living within the means of their communities. This traditional model has, for some, dramatically shifted. Today, the personal wealth of certain prominent pastors rivals that of corporate CEOs. This transformation prompts a critical examination of the economic forces at play within modern American ministry. Our investigation seeks to understand the mechanisms behind this significant wealth accumulation. The financial bedrock of American churches is primarily voluntary donations. These contributions, often referred to as tithes, form the lifeblood of religious organizations. Special offerings and fundraising events further supplement these regular gifts. The scale of these financial operations varies immensely. Small, local churches typically operate on modest budgets, providing their pastors with salaries ranging from $50,000 to $80,000 annually. These figures reflect a more traditional compensation model. In stark contrast, megachurches can generate massive annual revenues. A church with 10,000 members, for instance, might easily bring in $20 million or more each year. This substantial income creates a very different financial landscape. A critical aspect of this structure is the often limited financial oversight, particularly in independent churches. Pastors frequently hold significant control over the church budget, including the determination of their own compensation. This arrangement can lead to potential conflicts of interest. This situation presents a profound ethical dilemma. Is the accumulation of vast wealth by a pastor a testament to successful leadership and ministry growth? Or does it signal a departure from biblical warnings against greed and the pursuit of earthly riches? The reach of religious leaders has expanded dramatically over the past century. What began with radio and television broadcasts in the mid-20th century has evolved into a sophisticated media empire. The internet, streaming platforms, and social media now offer unprecedented global access. These digital platforms provide a low-overhead means for pastors to reach vast audiences. This extensive reach is often leveraged for highly effective fundraising. Sophisticated techniques are employed to motivate donations. These methods frequently utilize emotional appeals and the tenets of prosperity gospel theology. This doctrine suggests that financial giving to the church will result in material blessings from God. It creates a powerful incentive for congregational generosity. Successful pastors often transcend their traditional roles, becoming influential brands and entrepreneurs. They cultivate a public persona that extends beyond the pulpit. This branding allows them to generate significant income streams. These streams include lucrative book deals, extensive speaking tours, and large-scale conferences. Merchandise sales also contribute substantially to their personal wealth. The question then arises, are these legitimate extensions of ministry or businesses operating under a religious guise? For many celebrity pastors, the majority of their personal wealth originates from these entrepreneurial ventures. It often far surpasses their official church salaries. This distinction is crucial for understanding the sources of their affluence. Congregational generosity is a cornerstone of religious life. People donate for deeply personal reasons, driven by their belief in the church's mission, a desire for community support, and profound faith. This giving is often sacrificial. However, a significant concern arises from the widespread lack of financial disclosure within many churches. Unlike publicly traded companies or secular nonprofit organizations, many religious institutions operate with complete financial secrecy. This opacity is a key point of contention. This lack of transparency raises critical questions. What exactly is being hidden when financial information is withheld from congregants and the public? Does this secrecy protect the institution or obscure questionable practices? It prompts an inquiry into whether the focus of some ministries has shifted. Has the emphasis moved from selfless service to the personal enrichment of its leaders? This shift would represent a fundamental deviation from traditional religious values. The prosperity gospel in particular faces intense scrutiny in this context. Pastors preach that giving generously will unlock divine financial blessings for the giver. Yet often it is the pastors themselves who become demonstrably richer. Meanwhile, many congregants who faithfully give remain financially strained. This creates a stark contrast between the preached promise and the observed reality. It fuels skepticism and calls for greater accountability. The wealth of certain pastors sparks an ongoing ethical debate. Critics often point to a perceived hypocrisy. They argue that living in luxury while preaching sacrifice and humility undermines the very message of the gospel. The optics of such wealth are also problematic. When church members struggle financially, a pastor's opulent lifestyle can erode moral authority. It creates a disconnect between leader and flock. Conversely, defenders of wealthy pastors offer several justifications. They argue that significant compensation is a reward for success. Building and leading large, influential ministries requires exceptional talent and dedication. They also contend that competitive salaries are necessary to attract top talent. Running a large religious organization, they argue, demands skills comparable to those found in corporate leadership. Therefore, compensation should reflect this. Furthermore, some believe that a pastor's wealth enables ministry expansion. Resources, they suggest, can fund new initiatives, outreach programs, and charitable endeavors. This perspective views wealth as a tool for greater good. However, the core ethical problem often lies not in wealth itself, but in how that wealth is obtained and how it is used. The methods of accumulation and the subsequent deployment of funds are central to the debate. This distinction is crucial for a nuanced understanding. The discussion around pastoral wealth inevitably leads to the imperative of transparency and accountability. Some churches exemplify strong models of oversight. They feature robust financial transparency and independent boards that govern compensation. These models stand in stark contrast to what some critics describe as personal kingdoms. In these structures, pastors often answer to no one but themselves. This lack of external review creates significant vulnerabilities. Unchecked power within any organization, religious or secular, carries inherent risks. It creates an environment ripe for potential abuse and corruption. This can manifest in financial impropriety or other forms of exploitation. Such situations inevitably violate the trust of donors and congregants. This erosion of trust can have far-reaching consequences. It damages the credibility and reputation of Christianity as a whole. To address these concerns, several solutions have been proposed. One suggestion is mandatory financial transparency for all tax-exempt, nonprofit organizations, including churches. This would bring religious institutions in line with other charities. Another proposal advocates for independent boards to oversee pastoral compensation. These boards would ensure that salaries and benefits are fair and justifiable. They would remove the pastor's direct control over their own pay. Finally, there is a call for clear consequences for leaders who abuse their positions of trust. Establishing robust mechanisms for accountability is essential. This would help deter misconduct and restore public confidence. The issues surrounding pastoral wealth compel us to ask several critical questions. These inquiries are not meant to condemn, but to foster thoughtful reflection within religious communities and beyond. First, does the accumulated wealth primarily support the mission of the church, or does it disproportionately fund a personal lifestyle? This distinction is vital for assessing ethical alignment. Second, is there genuine financial openness within the organization? Are financial records accessible and understandable to congregants and the public? Transparency builds trust and mitigates suspicion. Third, how does the wider community perceive the leadership and financial practices of the church? Public perception significantly impacts the church's ability to fulfill its mission and attract new members. Finally, does the presence of significant wealth enhance or corrupt the faith community? Does it foster spiritual growth and service, or does it introduce elements of materialism and division? These questions are fundamental to the integrity of religious institutions. In conclusion, the phenomenon of millionaire pastors in America demands critical thinking and careful scrutiny. It is essential for both religious adherents and the broader public to engage with these complex issues. We must encourage a culture of questioning and discernment regarding religious leaders. Blind faith in financial matters can have detrimental consequences for individuals and institutions alike. Accountability is not a sign of distrust, but a pillar of integrity. It is imperative to demand ethical standards for all nonprofit organizations, including those with religious affiliations. Their tax-exempt status carries a public trust that must be upheld. This trust requires responsible stewardship of donated funds. Questions about money, its acquisition, and its use are not peripheral to faith. They are central to protecting the integrity of religious communities and their mission. Addressing these issues head-on is crucial for the future credibility of religious leadership. This is The Scholar's Ledger, where history, faith, and power are revealed. If this video made you think differently about money and ministry, hit that like button and subscribe for more content exploring the intersection of faith, power, and accountability in America. Drop a comment and let me know. What do you think about wealthy pastors? Where should we draw the line? Let's have a real conversation about this.